Let's move over to the Lions and Seahawks game because we were talking about hurdles in this week and them facing off against a team that really has kind of had their way with them over the last decade or so, especially since they're 5-12 against them all time. And I believe they were 4-8 against them since 2010. So struggled against them, but the big takeaway for them, they moved the ball up the field like they have in games past. It was definitely a great game. I feel like this was a game that they should have won at the end of the day. They needed a big stop, and they paid all this money to their defense. They had a lot of injuries in this game. We'll go over the injury report at the end of the episode as far as some injuries that fell through. But this is a game for the Lions that I felt like they had it, and they just didn't capitalize on it. They could have made that big play and sealed the deal, but credit to the Seahawks. They're honestly a great matchup against the Lions overall. But I'm just I felt like the Lions should have won that game.
Yeah, I felt like the Lions should have won that game. However, there was definitely some head hunting going on in that game where when I rewatched the condensed version of that game, every time the Seattle Seahawks were making a big play, it was against the corner number 23 for Detroit, Jacobs.
Kirby
Jacobs. Every time DK Metcalf was making a big play, it was on Kirby Jacobs when he had that big play down the field where he thought he had a touchdown, but ended up just being down at the half-yard line. Tyler Lockett's touchdown and a few of Tyler Lockett's big plays. Shout out to him for still being able to be an older veteran player and go out there and kick some ass and be awesome. Tyler Lockett was taking advantage of him, and I thought Geno Smith and the offense did a really good job of headhunting in that game, exposing some of the weak points on the Detroit defense, and I feel like that game really does come down to that Jared Goff interception. Jared Goff missed Jahmyr Gibbs open downfield a few times where I felt like he could have got him the ball, and if it wasn't for that pick six, you're probably winning this game going away. And I know a lot of fans want to be like, well, Aiden Hutchinson was held on that game in overtime when Geno Smith threw the touchdown. Like, yeah, but there's a certain point where the refs want you to earn the win, and they're not going to give you the calls in overtime. The refs mostly just want to go home in that point, and they're human. So like, if they see a call like that, they're like, yeah, could Hutchinson have got to him? But they still thought the Seattle Seahawks were probably going to win that game. So I thought going away, it's a tough game for Detroit at home versus a team that's been able to kick their ass, but it's a game they let slip away. Jared Goff has the bad pick six, and I'm sure he'll bounce back from that, and it ended his third all-time streak without an interception, so I'm not worried about the turnovers there, but it's another game where you just had it in your grasp and you let it slip away to an opponent that's had your number over the past few decades. Pete Carroll, still a hell of a coach there. Dan Campbell mentioned it. He's like, hey, man, we had some problems in this game that we have to fix. It's a long season. It's a sprint. We're not worried about it, but there's definitely some things we need to clean up there as far as Detroit. And I'm not discouraged, but it's, again, another game where I'm like, oh, you should have had that. It's like, I get you started so bad last year that getting a win on week one is really electric for you in Kansas City, but you have to capitalize on that momentum. Aiden Hutchinson wasn't as dominant in this game. Seattle was able to have their way on offense. So it's like Seattle did deserve to win that game. You were coming back, but they got the turnover. They got the pick six, which was the difference in that game. But also give credit to the Lions for coming back.